And welcome in everybody to the High Low Sports Podcast, the sports show that does not have a very, very deep hidden files, if you will, of DMs sent through across college campuses. You can bet us on that one. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host Kelcey, as we get ready to chat about what's going on in the world of sports as we enter December. A lot of chaos and a lot of things that I have issues with going on in the sports world right now, one of which is almost directly related to the opening topic.
Yeah, it's been a wild week. And no DM. Sorry to disappoint literally everybody probably out there. But I don't know. I'm just too boring to get involved in all that fun stuff.
I guess I need to do more hot yoga. But you know what? We've beaten around the bush plenty of time. That's going to get us right into the opening part of our show. That is the tip-off brought to our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports for $20 off your first purchase. Concert tickets, sporting events, comedy shows, festivals, anything that requires tickets, use code BellyUpSports for $20 off your first initial purchase. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and just start jumping right into it. Lane Kiffin is not going to be in Oxford anymore, and I don't think he'll ever be allowed back at this point, honestly. As he is heading down south, he's going to go to LSU, be a Bayou Bengal, joining the Tigers as a new head coach. Nice, a $90 million deal, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's going to pay him over the course of it. We'll rip the Band-Aid. We'll start with the easy part as well before we get into the weird stuff. Good move for LSU. Think he's a good coach. Not surprised he left. It's literally not anything new. I think him leaving is a little overblown, I suppose. I think the overreaction is a little bit tough, but that's due to some other issues that I'll complain about later. But good move for LSU. I think that offense he's been running with Matt Corral, Jackson Dart, and like that RPO deep shot offense, it's going to be a whole lot more fun when you have the likes of Malik Neighbors, Keyshawn Butte, Brian Thomas Jr., and guys like that on the outside. So good for LSU. But at the same time, what a weird scenario how that it all played out. So like everything surrounding it just made it very weird. It should not have been this dramatic.
Yeah, I think the weirdest part is now Charlie Weiss is coming back to coach the team during the playoffs, which is so weird. Why? After they made such a stink about it. At that point in time, just let the whole staff coach call it swell. I don't know. I hate this for many reasons, but the biggest one being I hate that Ole Miss is just letting their team, their AD, just walk away scot-free on this. You do not demand an answer prior to the end of your season when you are going to the playoffs or when you look like you're going to the playoffs. Better yet, when you're just potentially going to your conference championship for the first time in a long time. Like, you got to do this. You don't ask the question. You just let it go. And if he walks at the end of the season, he walks. So be it. But you would have never had this happen. And you know what? Odds are if you don't put a Band-Aid on him, he doesn't leave. Because that means LSU probably doesn't hire him. Because they would need a coach now. At the way that everything goes nowadays, you need it at the end of your season. Their season ends now. Their season's done. It's over for LSU. For Ole Miss, it continues. You have potentially 3 more games. You could have had 4, but 3 more games potentially that this team could have, and you have no head coach. You are rudderless at the end of the day without it. So why are Ole Miss fans allowing their AD to get away scot-free on this? He is the big problem. He allowed this to begin. He allowed it to fester, and he allowed Lane to do what Lane does, which is DM everybody. But at the end of the good for Lane, go get the bag. But I hate the timing of everything to do with this. I hate the drama around it. I hate that yet again, it's like burning mattresses at night in Tennessee. Like, why do we keep doing this? Why make such a show of getting a coach in and out of a city that it's so obvious? Everybody knows, like, there's dudes on these bunkers that track planes for an entire 365 days just to see where their AD or an opposing SEC school's AD will travel to, which is its own privacy questionnaire. But I don't know, man. This is crazy to me from the standpoint of like, Ole Miss, why'd you do this? If you didn't Mississippi this, you probably still have Lane Kiffin. Or at the very least, you have Lane Kiffin through the rest of the season, and you have a great chance at a national championship game. And I think that's a huge, like, what were you doing?
We'll go and get into my base issue. This whole thing is college football is just a mess. Is the nicest way I could think about it. We've talked about the NIL things, how that's the wild west. We're not going to dive into that portion of it. This calendar layout that they have is just atrocious. The fact that you have to hire a coach right now, basically, but like you said, otherwise your Penn State and your recruiting class drops out of the top 120 because you don't have a coach and you're watching your former coach turn Virginia Tech into a powerhouse with like the top 25 class. But that's something else. You don't want to end up like that, so you have to go on this asinine explosive recruiting trail to get your next coach. Could you imagine if they had this in like other things like the NFL where you're in the middle of like in week 17, there's like, oh, by the way, Andy Reid, we're going to give you the bag on a playoff run or something like that. I know it doesn't work quite the same. It's not apples to apples. It's apples to peaches a little bit, but the calendar needs to be realigned so you fit, like, which also includes the playoff needs to be tighter. It needs to be closer to the end of the season and the end of conference championship game. It should end in January, not go all the way through, in my opinion. I think we need to tighten everything up or push everything down a little bit. So that way you can finish the season, then you go get your coach, then you have National Signing Day, all of that. I'm not saying drag it to a full year thing, but right now the fact that signing day is like you're getting commits right now, commits are flipping, signing day is right around the corner. Otherwise you end up like Penn State and you end up literally stuck with your tail between your legs. Granted, they already kind of did that regardless, so no matter what happens. But that's just like one of the examples where you now see teams having to almost rush to get a head coach. They're working so much against the clock, and it's even more so than other sports where you kind of wait for those playoff coaches because those are the guys you want. You want guys with experience. You want guys that, win. You're not trying to pick somebody whose season is over at the same time as you more often than not. And here you see what happens here. That's my biggest issue is with the calendar about how we got to all this point. It needs to be basically I would say like no coaches need to leave their program unless they're fired until after the season, which would mean moving everything around. That's for college football to decide. They can't handle really anything, honestly, though. So I'm not expecting this is going to happen again next year and the year after that and the year after that. It even made it weird with James Franklin, the Virginia Tech coach. Meanwhile, the interim still has a month of coaching left to do. It's like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to be like, no matter what you say, you want to put the best out there, but you already know you're not sticking around at that point unless depending on how the coaching staff goes. And if you're James Franklin, you have to just kind of sit there and watch your team fester a little bit. It's a very awkward situation how they put this calendar together. So that's my biggest issue. There's no way that this is very unsustainable, especially in the current landscape. And as far as Lane Kiffin leaving, we're going to dive a little bit into just a little bit of that. So you're not going to get too far into the weeds. We're not getting into the files, but you mentioned that he wanted to stay back and coach. We'll go and take a short look at his letter. Not going to read the whole thing because, well, everybody else on here can either read or they can find it. But the idea is the Egg Bowl was his last game coaching for the Rebels. He claims right in here for those on video, you could kind of see, I'll have the mouse right around it, how the team, wanted to capitalize on the team's incredible success and their commitment to finish strong and investing everything into a playoff run with guardrails in place to protect the program in any areas of concern, which we're not going to get into that. You already touched on as well. And I think the fact that we have to have this situation is the issue. But the reason I'm even bringing that up is, well, not everyone seems to agree with that, including a few people that were in there for that alleged speech he had where this was not, we have Sir Tam Perkins saying that was not the message you said in the meeting room. Everybody was in there can vouch on this. And Bryson Sanders, despite the team asking me to keep coaching, I think everyone in that room would disagree. So what was already a messy situation, Lane Kiffin managed to make messier in only a way that Lane Kiffin can.
Look, there are 101 scholarship athletes now, 102 scholarship athletes in football nowadays. I don't care what they're going to tweet. I don't care what Lane Kiffin said that happened in a meeting behind closed doors that only his team will know the answer to and only the AD will know the answer to, because regardless of whatever happened, he never talked to the team from the end of the game on Saturday until Sunday when he was dismissed from the program, when he left the program. That's the first thing. So he was never in the meeting with them. He only met with the captains and the AD at Carter's house. That's it. It's the only conversation he had with any of the players. So say what you will in those meeting rooms, quote unquote, but the meeting rooms did not involve Lane Kiffin in any of these. So he may be in the captain's meeting and then the captains vouch for him. Then yeah, I believe that. The captains have been around him for 3 years for the most part, probably 4. Whatever. This college kids, like, come on, what were we doing at 21? Like, let's be honest here. Anybody who wants to bash Lane Kiffin or bash these kids for saying what they did, what were you doing at 20 and 21 on a Saturday night after you just had a big game in college? I can tell you it wasn't staying sober. That's for sure. So say what you will after that. You know what? You're going to trash talk anybody. Now, Again, I don't get the whole Ole Miss thing. Stop it. They need to stop. Anyways, I need to go back to your point about this college schedule. There's a couple things that have gotten muddied over the last 10 years. There used to be an early signing day in December. An early signing day required you to stay committed from that signing day through the next calendar school year. So you were committed to that school that you signed on early signing day in December for the next 6 months, barring a medical injury or a medical situation that required you, and you have to get a waiver by the NCAA to leave or to get out of that waiver. That's part one. That's gone now. Early signing day is just a joke. It's a verbal commitment day, and they can do whatever they want.
As it should be.
The actual signing day is usually around Valentine's Day. So a week after the national championship game, which I'm fine with if that's the case, if you want to keep it there. But if you're going to do that, you have to prevent coaches from leaving until the final whistle blows of the national championship game. There can be no coaches leaving, no coaches entering a program. That's it.
No interviews, no nothing.
As it is, you're not really supposed to be on the road recruiting technically from December through February. You can call, you can make official phone calls. You're allotted so many hours of recruiting, blah, 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 through phone calls, through text and everything, but burner phones, all that, DMs, Lane Kiffin looking at you. All those things can happen. You pop up at a Senior Bowl practice or at a high school All-American game. Oh, wow, look at that. So a lot of things got muddied over the years with the calendar. And by the way, the one thing about all this that goes back to the coaches, why they've always been able to leave and enter at any point in time, has been because they used to be teachers. And a school can hire a teacher at any point in time in the school year, and they're allowed access onto the campus. Doesn't matter if they were a football coach or not. So back in the day, hearkening way back to when all these rules were really originated, coaches were allowed to be on campus even if they weren't coaching the football team to help develop the program while being a quote unquote teacher. That hasn't been the case for like 30 years, 40 years, maybe even longer than that. But they keep the rules in there because of that. So yeah, you got to put a new deadlines in to finish the season. Like, all right, week 0 until end of the national championship game. If a coach is dismissed, he cannot get hired by another program. They do not have there's no legal tampering period. There's none of that. He can't go sign a $100 million deal with a Tulane just because. Like, that needs to be done and over with. Players wise, you have to make their commitment mean something, because right now there's no repercussions for taking a $1 million NIL deal in December, backing out of that, keeping the money or a portion of the money, and then signing a $1.5 million NIL deal in February as you commit to a new school. There's no repercussions for that, barring losing maybe 50% of the money you were given in the beginning. Like, you get a signing date bonus, and then you literally get a show bonus, just like you do in the NFL. So there's a lot of things that got muddied with NIL. Got Quinn Ewers, I blame him as being really the first one to really do this, going from Texas to Ohio State back to Texas. He got away with it because that's NIL wasn't allowed in Texas, so he went to Ohio State and then he jumped down. Like, there's a lot of things that happen in there, but yeah, coaches are feeling the repercussions of the NIL because they've been allowed to do whatever they want for this long because of the old rules from the 1950s. And now you have players trying to do the same thing. And now you have results like what's Kiffin and the players is happening at Ole Miss. And honestly, players are going to be butthurt. We saw what Arizona State did when Jaden Daniels left to go to LSU, which was the best move for Jaden Daniels, as we saw winning the Heisman Trophy. He got trashed by his own teammates. He was the only good thing on that terrible Arizona State team. And yet he got trashed because he left to go do something better. And I get it. Coach recruits you. He's promising you to be there for 4 years. Yeah, maybe in the 1950s. It's been a long gone situation. Players, it's a business. You're getting paid to play now. Stop acting like you're a child. And if you're going to act like a child, don't put it on Twitter. I don't care. So that's my whole take on this thing. It's stupid. It's childish. Congratulations, Lane. You got a bunch of money. I hope Ole Miss goes and wins the national championship without you. That's what I hope happens.
One of these days, we're gonna have an episode where I'm just gonna lay out a game plan to fix college football, because, like, as you mentioned, there's so many things that are out of place, and there's been so much that has happened and changed. A lot of it should be for better, but without any sort of guardrails or parameters is turned into an absolute catastrophe across all
It's
boards.
hard, right? Because you have to compete with the academic calendar at the same time. Like college football, this is the weird thing about college football. It's not just its own calendar. It's you have the academic calendar to deal with at the same time because your admissions are the same way from academics to athletics, which maybe is a different conversation to have whether NIL should have any involvement in admission processing. But
I'm going to get in.
Lord forbid you talk about the NCAA clearinghouse, which is still somehow a thing.
We're going to get into when the time comes and the game plan comes out, we'll be getting into that too. There's a whole lot to get into for that. And I think having that set calendar where you, like you mentioned, 0 to national championship, I think we'll see fewer coaches get fired in season 2. So otherwise you're stuck in purgatory for longer, or at least they'll wait till December. They won't fire them in September, like Penn State, because then you're in a real situation because you can't replace them for a while unless you're pulling a guy off the street or someone who's unemployed. But if that's the case,
you know what's crazy? You also would limit contract excessiveness. There would be no $100 million buyout for somebody like Kirby Smart or Brian Kelly's, whatever that was. Yeah. You wouldn't have those because they wouldn't be so free to do whatever, which is why they're getting paid so much. They're free to do whatever. They're free to develop a program from any point in time in the year, and they don't face repercussions. I look at some of these hirings that just happened in the SEC. Some of these coaches are getting paid like $9 and $10 million. There was a long time where Nick Saban was the highest paid coach at like $7 million in the SEC. And then there was a very large gap to $3 million. Right now, Clark Lee is the lowest paid head coach in the SEC at $3 million a year. And he has the third best team in the SEC right now. Arguably the third best team, I should say, in Vanderbilt. Like the best teams in the SEC right now, outside of Kirby and Alabama, those two schools, the rest of them that are getting paid 9, 8, 7.5, 8.5 are trash. Make it make sense. I will never understand the way these numbers work. It's far too many zeros, far too many commas to the left side of the decimal, and I'll never understand it.
It's an absolute mess right now. So if anyone has any ideas, I want to hear what they have to say with straightening out college football a bit. Or maybe you think that it's just fine and we're overreacting old geezers, which is very possible. I mean, maybe
this is my get off my lawn moment, I guess.
I guess so. Maybe this is my leaning forward. My back gives out too. My back starts to match my hair and everything just falls apart. So let us know down below what y'all think. But we're going to transition from one coaching situation to another. But this one's in the NFL, and it's another issue of what in the world are we doing? Like, what are we seriously doing this right now? Is Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Well, it hasn't been a great thing for Eagles fans. House gets egged by fans in the middle of the night too, as they are still searching to see who did it. But I'm just going to keep mine short and simple. Kids will be kids. We get it. But at the same time, I don't know if these are kids or not. So that doesn't make it okay regardless. But first of all, Eagles fans, this is why no one likes you. This is why Eagles fans have it's such a terrible reputation. Like, first of all, I get it. The offense has been mediocre at best this year. Like, it has as many 3-and-outs as it has scoring drives just about. It's been terrible. We're really going to put all of that on one person as if the same thing didn't happen 2 years ago too. Like, we're going to act like this didn't happen. We're going to act like this didn't happen periodically last year when Saquon wasn't saving the day. Like, that team is talented, but it's flawed. Like, that's blaming it all on one guy like that. And then egging his house crosses a line. He took the high road, basically saying that Philly's a special place. And you're involving the guy's family. When you do that, you're finding him. I'm not going to say swatting, but it's in a way, it has some similarities. You show up to his place of living and vandalizing his house in that case. There was a rumor there's some rocks thrown too. I don't know how true that is, but if there are, that's true vandalism. That breaks a window, that hits somebody. Like, this is stupid. This is why Eagles fans are called Eagles fans. I know you can't stereotype everybody, but gosh, do they make it very difficult sometimes. They almost make it easy to do so. This is ridiculous. Like, no, we're really going to blame it all on one guy who's calling the plays, not anybody who's actually playing. We're going to call it on the one guy calling plays when they've cycled through 6 offensive coordinators in 6 years. He's been bad at calling plays this year, I'd say, but compared to other ones. But my goodness, we're really going to go egg his house? Like, what are we doing?
I guess he's just not Italian stallion enough for him. I think Sirianni is why he is the problem, the real problem here. If you look at this just record of their offense since Sirianni took over until now, there's one common denominator through all the OCs when there's been a bad year. Sirianni.
Jalen Hurts too.
I'm going to give some of the credit to the coach for once. I'm going to blame him because obviously Eagle fans,
like to call Jalen Garrison mobile.
Which, by the way, I feel like we need to change the name, the way they spell them, from Eagle to Eagle, or Eagle, as in this case. But look, man, I've made fun of Eagles fans for a long time, and all I gotta say is the first kid that threw a egg in that must be descendant from the guy who hit Santa with a snowball, because that's an arm. Like, he threw it up on the garage. That's a heck of an arm with an egg. If you've ever thrown an egg before, which I don't suggest, legally don't do it.
Not how much they cost.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, look, Eagles fans gonna Eagles fans, man. Like, they win a championship and destroy their own town. Honestly, this is like the least hazardous moment of Eagle fan history in a lot of ways. So, yeah, they're big eggheads. I don't know what else to say about this. It's just scrambled up there. I don't know, man. But yeah, I think that's all the egg puns I got left for me.
You would think after winning a Super Bowl, they let everybody over easy a little bit, but I guess not like this. And even in an 8-2, I had to get one in there too. Even with an outstanding record at the top of the NFC East, that's still not good enough. And we talked about it. They have issues, but we're putting all of it on the offensive coordinator and the fact that you've cycled through 6 of them in 6 years. Like, it's not everything's going to be perfect. And it's not like this is the first time the offense has not looked good. It wasn't exactly good last year outside of Saquon Barkley being Saquon Barkley when going 6 yards before he got touched. Like, I think we could reel it in just a little bit.
That team, man, it's like that team could be undefeated, coming off back-to-back Super Bowl championships, have Hall of Fame players at every position, and they bench them because they're going into the playoffs and they want to give everybody a break, and they're going to complain. That fan base will find a way to complain. That fan base could complain if that team paid every one of them $1 million to show up to every game. They would still find a way to complain. Like this, I don't get it. They have been bad for far too long, and then just recently good again. That I don't know where the yeah, I don't get it, man. It's just like, why, Eagles fans? Just
you got 2 Super Bowls in 7 years, multiple appearances, multiple NFC Championship games. Like,
I didn't know what a Super Bowl looked like as a Cowboys fan. I never knew what a Super Bowl looked like. That's why I stopped being a Cowboys fan.
I dare say that they might have surpassed Cowboys fans in the obnoxious ranking at this point too. Like, I'm pretty sure they've passed them in recent years. It may have been close because there was more of the Cowboys fans, and so they were louder. But I think Eagles fans might have passed them in recent years.
Yeah, they're up there with Alabama fans and Patriots fans and Lakers fans in my eyes,
and all Chiefs fans at this point too. Like, they're all kind of of the same fans.
Chiefs are still the worst, but that's because they're nice bad, and that's what frustrates me. At least the Eagles fans, you know what you're going to get. They're jerks to begin with, so they're going to stay jerks. But like, Chiefs fans are Midwest nice, which is not really that nice, but it seems that they're really nice. But they're really saying really, really rude things the whole time.
They're nice until you turn your back, and then they'll take your wallet and stab you and walk away with it at that point real quickly. But
at least Southern folk, they'll be like, "Oh, bless your heart." When we all know what that means, it doesn't mean anything nice.
They're not blessing your heart; they're putting blessings, and it's going to hurt your heart really quickly. It's going to be real different. But we've done enough complaining about Eagles fans. They should have done enough complaining too, considering they're in the playoffs. So we're going to go ahead and switch over now to talking a little bit about the playoffs. We're going to look at the bracket now. Here's how the playoffs stand as of right now going into Week 14. Eagles, because of that loss on Black Friday, the Chicago Bears now hold the number 1 seed in the NFC, just as everybody predicted before the season started, followed by the Rams at 2, the Eagles as the 3 seed, Tampa Bay at 4, at 5 we have Seattle, also with a 9-3 record, 6 we have Green Bay, and 7 we have the 49ers. In the AFC, Denver Broncos still finding ways to get it done, even though they can't seem to cover the spread against the Commanders, sitting at number 1, followed by New England at 2, Jacksonville at 3, Baltimore at 4, Chargers at 5, Colts at 6, Buffalo at 7. So looking at this one, we're going to start. Most of these teams are all technically contenders, so they're in there. Who are the pretenders in here? One team from each side, they're like, yeah, they're either not going to make it, or if they make it, they're getting clapped.
I think I got to start with the Ravens being a pretender. Like, it feels egregious to say that, considering they were one of my top teams coming into the season, but given how they performed this season, it feels like they are a big pretender right now. It feels like they're just holding on by whatever little hope they have in the fact the AFC North is wide open. It's the nicest way I could put that. I don't know. That right now seems like the biggest pretender. After them, I think every other team has a little bit of credence of being here. I think both AFC South teams have it. Obviously, AFC North teams will have, or AFC East teams will have a credence here. I thought the Chargers and Broncos would make the playoffs anyways. I didn't think the Broncos would be number one, but they're there. And I don't hate the Bears. With the way the Bears have played this year, they are not a pretender to me. Everybody else, I think, has a fair shot. It's just really Baltimore is like my biggest pretender, honestly.
I will say the Bears are the weirdest case because they lead the NFL in takeaways and big plays, like chunk explosive plays, and they're 8th in scoring. But like everything else, they're just like, huh, you're all right. Like they're like
Yeah.
25th in every defensive category. Running the ball, they've climbed up after what they did to the Eagles, weirdly enough. But they haven't really done anything the little things right, but they've done just what they need to win. They're very unique. I think that's normally I'd say that's a worrisome formula, but they've done it all year, even when they've lost. Like when they lost to the Lions and got obliterated early on, that's kind of what they were doing. So it's worked, and they've only gotten better since then. So I'm not going to focus on them. The NFC, it's kind like you mentioned, the NFC is really like 10 teams deep as far as contenders, including these 7. If I had to pick out of here, I think that's tough. Maybe the 49ers, just because of the amount of injuries they've had to go through. And that at some point it's got to come home to roost. If you're telling me a CMC is going to be the pinnacle of health for this team the entire way, then I take it back. But eventually it feels like he's going to miss a game or something is going to happen. He has more receiving yards. If he was just a pure receiver, he'd be 7th in all categories, basically, when you tallied up. He has more receptions than CeeDee Lamb. He has more receiving yards than Justin Jefferson. It's absolutely astronomical, but I digress. I might have got that backwards. AFC, it's got to be the Colts for me. I agree with you. The entire AFC North counts, so I'm not going to – I agree with you on everything. I'm throwing the Colts on there as well. Your quarterback has a broken leg. Is he Greg Jennings and going to put the team on his back, though? Like, is he going to – is this – he's not – I don't think he's Greg Jennings, so I don't think we can pull that off. You have floundered in the last few weeks. Like, since that Steelers game, they were 1-3. Defensively, you're getting ran through. Sauce Gardner's now out for probably the rest of the year with that calf strain, or if he comes back, you're on ice the rest of the way. You're terrified. Jonathan Taylor is no longer able to completely save the day off of his back. Like, he's not able to get 200 yards and 3 touchdowns every week. Team's like, oh, let's put 30 in the box on them and not let that happen. And they've not been able to do anything about it. Tyler Warren's great, but that's a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends don't make you contenders by themselves. Other than Alec Pierce is wonderful, but like, they can't, their pass blocking's rough. They can't stop the run. They struggle stop. They can't get after the quarterback consistently. Their entire offense is JT save us, and eventually that wears out. And rest of their schedule, Jacksonville twice, pretty good teams, as we mentioned. They're technically leading the division right now. Texans, best defense in football right now, you could say, and hottest team in football right now. My goodness, they're killing everybody. Seattle, yeah, and find a more balanced team in the NFL. Top 3 in scoring in defense and offense. Like, good luck. And they have JSN still. Like, and Sam Darnold most of the time's fine. Oh, and you got the 49ers, who we just aforementioned. As long as CMC's around, everything's okay, I guess. So I'm going to put the Colts on there too. And it just feels like they went all in after can crushing, and now it's coming home to roost. They might have counted their chickens a little bit too soon with everything.
That's fair. I don't feel as bad about the Colts, and maybe it's because I'm not a Colts fan, and so I feel a little bit safer. I do, however, have JT and Tyler Warren. Oh, and Josh Downs, by the way, which I think if he can consistently stay engaged in a game, he is a much better receiver than a lot of people give him credit for.
They weirdly ignore him for long stretches.
It's strange, and I get it. Right now, Daniel Jones is a little bit hampered, but let's be honest. As a quarterback, he's not been playing poorly. He's not been playing great, but he hasn't necessarily been playing the worst he's played all season, even with fractured fibula.
You could tell how much of his ability to move is essential to him in the offense. And now that he can't move, it's you can see the same with the Ravens with Lamar being not able to move. Granted, Lamar's a better passer, and the rest of the Ravens team is kind of falling apart around him. So it's a little different, apples to apples, not comparing the two. But Daniel Jones' inability to move, it's tying one hand behind his back. It's like telling Tom Brady you have to throw with your left hand at that point. Like, it's truly his ability to move was what centered around the offense, because having him sit there in the pocket and pick you apart, not exactly the Daniel Jones specialty at that point. And it opens things up with JT when Vanilla Vic scrambles out the backside on occasion, but now that's gone.
Yeah, I just don't know who's replacing him. I mean, the Texans are the hottest team, fine, but like, I don't think they're replacing them in the playoff run. If anything, they would replace the Bills, who have just struggled right now. Is the nicest way to put it. They lost Keon Coleman to just his attention deficit disorder. But I don't see any other reason. I don't see anybody supplanting the Colts within their own division. And outside of that, the Chiefs, but I don't think they're mathematically eligible to get above a 7 seed. And Outside of that, the Texans would be the next team, and that's it. That's really it in a lot of ways. Maybe the Jets have with their 0.00000001 chance of getting in the playoffs, but yeah, again,
I will say it looks like right now they don't even have the division anymore. So if they keep slipping, you never know. I mean,
it's
Houston has a much easier schedule. If they end up with a tie, that's where it gets really weird. It gets really weird down the way.
with what's left. I think if they split with what's left, they're more than fine.
They got to get to 10, that's for sure, which means they got to at least win 2 more games.
I think honestly they'd be fine with 9 wins. I think they'll still be a 6 seed with 9 wins. I think if their biggest hope is to get into the playoffs and then get healthy, because right now Daniel Jones, if he can get those 4 weeks without any major setbacks, get into the playoffs where you have that. Well, you won't have a break because you'll be in the wild card. You have to play that week, but he should still be healthy. Then you can sit him week 17 if you can win enough games early. I don't know. I don't feel as bad about them as I do about the Ravens, who just can't get out of their own way all season, and they just get run by on the outside. Literally, like their cornerbacks look like they're stuck in cement at this point in time. It's kind of a joke to sit there and watch their corners try to defend.
To be fair, I included the entire AFC North too. I just wasn't going to copy and paste it because it doesn't matter who comes out of that division. I'm feeling good about the 5 seed. If the Colts get the 5 seed, then I retract everything I just said. They might win a playoff game if you give in that situation.
I think they can win a playoff game even if it's 6. But yeah, I think I'd feel much more comfortable, obviously, if they could win a couple more.
It's like you mentioned, Baltimore's the fact that Cincinnati's well in the thick of it right now. If they continue what they're doing with Joe Burrow back, that's the issue. When they have won 1 game without Joe Burrow this year, and he's been gone since September. Yeah, Joe Burrow is 3-0 this year, so you know what? Maybe he's making that MVP run. We'll see. But
Burrow just has to beat the Ravens and just has to beat the Browns, and they'll be fine. I think the AFC North is not getting more than 1 team in the playoffs.
Absolutely not. They're getting 1 via courtcy at this point because of the division. It's
going to be record based. Like congratulations, you won your division. Here you go. Good luck in that first round. Like it's the old AFC, the old NFC West back in the day with the Cardinals with a losing record.
Exactly. Like it's going to get it. But let us know down below who you all have as playoff contenders or pretenders, who you all think is going to make some noise and who you think is not. But we're going to wrap up NFL playoff contention. But now we're going to wrap up the NFL talk too with the NFL MVP ladder. So we were off last week. We're back to talk about who's in the race for the NFL MVP, and things have changed a lot in the last 2 weeks. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of status quo this week, but you'll see really quickly what I mean by that. At the bottom of it, we have Drake May. He's been awesome in the year. The completion percentage, he's actually the odds-on favorite at like -130. He has been great. We're not taking anything away from him, but it feels weird to have an MVP quarterback frontrunner who has 0 300-yard games in his career. That's like having the running back being a candidate without having a 100-yard game. I just need one. He's consistently at like 285, 287. I get it. His completion percentage is great. He's been awesome. He also hasn't had a bye week yet, which is also part of that. Where he's lead passing yards. He's been outstanding. There is no Drake May solitaire. I just like some of these other 2 guys we're going to get into a little bit more with what they've done. Number 2, the return of the Dak. In literally a 5-day period, he outgunned Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs 31-28, and he had a 21-0 comeback on the Eagles defense. He basically spotted him 21 and came back and helped win the game. He's been outstanding. He's been accurate. He's been precise. That we're not getting the Cowboys confused with a defensive team. He is very much like last year's Bengals. Granted, last few weeks with Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, who would have thought those two, and getting a little healthier, they've been not terrible, not good, not acceptable, not average, but not the worst. So you know what? They're slowly climbing up to get in. They're probably going to finish the year at like 26, which is a huge improvement to where they were a month ago. And I think a lot of that is Dak puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses when he's consistently moving the chains, getting in the end zone, finding things going. So the return of the Dak, just despite you, basically is why he's decided to play his best ball after you rescind the Cowboys fandom. And George Pickens looks like, my goodness.
Hey, I called that one preseason that he was going to be one of the best receivers to have late in a draft.
Oh, 100%.
I want everybody to remember that moment.
I want everyone to remember that I was the draft Dak Prescott in your fantasy league guy, and all of my leagues show it as well.
Which I'm saying George Pickens. I was saying George Pickens.
Oh no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I'm tooting my own horn. As we get to the MVP, it remains Matthew Stafford even after his worst game of the year. 3 turnovers, still threw a couple of touchdowns. Devontae Adams still leads the NFL in touchdowns inside the 5-yard line. He has more touchdowns inside the 5-yard line than anyone else has touchdowns. Period. They get in there. Matthew Stafford lights it up. I think he's at 33 touchdowns and 5 picks now, even after a bad game, quote unquote. He's top 5 in passing yards. He's still been outstanding. It's going to take some work to usurp him, I believe. I know Drake May's the favorite, and I still find that weird. Like, he's been awesome, but I don't think he should be the favorite at minus odds. The fact that he has minus odds is what's weird to me. But this is what we have for the MVP ladder. The reason it's chalk is for the first time in so long, it's all quarterbacks, and I didn't like it, but JSN's coming off a 2-catch, 20-yard game. Jonathan Taylor, since that Falcons game, he's had like 130 combined yards. The teams are just finding ways to overload them, and the rest of the team can't make up for it. So right now it's the quarterback award. I'm not happy about it, but this is where we're at right now. I would throw Myles Garrett in there if he breaks the record. I might just force feed Myles Garrett in there just because.
I feel like Myles Garrett should be in this anyways, just because that guy is dating Chloe Kim. Congratulations, you have the best female snowboarder in X Games history. Showing up to your football games.
Let's put a little Myles Garrett in the corner for honorable mention then.
Yeah, like honestly, at this point, I don't know. He's winning in a lot of ways. Also, he can get out of any speeding ticket just because he's the Cleveland savior at this point in time. Literally could wreck his car and still be fine, it seems. But no, I think this is fair. By the way, Drake May not over 300 yards thing. Welcome to the modern NFL. that's just. I hate it as much as you do, but that's just what it's all analytics. It's how long can we keep the ball, not how far can we throw it nowadays. And I hate that.
He's been
Let
great.
me see somebody throw it up.
Percentage is elite. I'm just saying, like, they've been so unbelievably efficient and awesome. That's why it's here. But at the same time, I'm looking at what Stafford is doing, where that is a well-oiled machine, and where Dak is literally putting the Cowboys on his back. So there is no shade to Drake May.
Different class of different upbringing of quarterback generations.
And I'm mostly just kind of mad that he's minus favorites at this point. That would mean he's starting to run away with it. Like, that's what we started seeing with Josh Allen after a 6-touchdown game last year. And that's what we saw like the year before with Lamar after he dropped 5 on the 49ers when CMC was in the running. Or what we'd see with that. You shouldn't be at minus odds right now. That's what really bugs me. No one's at minus odds right now. It's very much open. If you want to tell me any of these three and then you throw in a few others, I get it. But I digress. This is what we have for the MVP ladder this week. Let us know down below who you all have for the MVP. Am I being too harsh on Drake May, even though I literally said he deserves to be in the conversation? But so the Patriots fans will yell at me for it because he's not number one. I get it. He's been great.
They don't have any room to yell anymore. They have so many championships. You can just sit down.
We've prayed the last 5 years for the Chiefs dynasty to end just to see the Patriots dynasty reborn right in front of our eyes. I hate football so much that it's going to take us into our main event because I want to get off of the conversation of the Patriots. And for the main event, we are returning to college football where the Patriots can't haunt us as much. We are talking rivalry games, but not just in any way. We're gonna have a little bit of nostalgia and reminiscent going back to 2000. So quarter century now. We've hit the quarter century mark, 25 years. We're going to rank these rivalry games. And by rank them, I mean, we're going to pick our favorites during those last 25 years because we just saw some really good ones this last week. We're going to look back on some. So we're going to start with one near and dear to Kelcey's heart. We're going to talk about the Iron Bowl, Alabama versus Auburn. So going back to the year 2000, Kelcey, which is the one that sticks out to you the most?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a pro Auburn game, so go figure. Sorry, Alabama fans, to disappoint you by saying that, but I might be bringing up some really bad memories for some. I know it's probably had the worst fallout from a game ever in the history of the two rivalries because there was actual poisonings being done afterwards. One poisoning, but one really important tree. So 2010, the comeback, one of the most incredible games I've ever watched with my own two eyes. It was amazing. Down 24-0, all hope was lost. I literally was like in my seat, just like, I have to watch the second half of this. Great. In this stadium. Great. Can't wait for this disappointment. Down 21-0 in the first quarter. It was awful. Score going into halftime. Gave yourself a chance. Come out. And it's one of the best halves I've ever seen a football team play. Winning 28-27. You got the invention of the Lutzy. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. The Philip Lutzenkirchen dance. RIP Phil. In the end zone as he's walking 7-yard touchdown in the end zone to win the game. One of the most incredible comebacks I've ever seen. They call it the comeback. Respectfully, sure. I like it more for the Lutzy reference. But Cam was, memed afterwards. That's when he's covering his mouth afterwards, laughing at the Alabama stands. I don't agree with that. This is the one, though, that probably to me stands out the most personally, but also just from the rivalry's sake, just because it had such a huge fallout afterwards. This is the Harvey Updike situation where Auburn fans taped a Cam Newton jersey up on the Bear Bryant statue with electrical tape, by the way. Doesn't ruin the statue. And in response, Harvey Updike has a little too much Bama in him and poisons Tumor's Corner. Not just a little bit of poisoning. He literally tainted the entire eastern watershed of Alabama. So not only for the game reasons is this one my favorite, but yeah, then I think of the aftermath. I actually was there for the tearing down of Tumors. I actually gave my stepdad a piece of Tumors Corner of the tree, Tumors tree, encased, and one of the more memorable moments of my life. And look, if you talk just purely on game standpoint, one of the most incredible Heisman moments of all time. What Cam Newton was able to do in that game was something. Yeah, he deserves the $180,000 if that's how much Auburn paid for him. I'll say that much. But yeah, it's one of those crazy things that not only was it a great game, an incredible historical game, but then it had a incredible story that wasn't great afterwards, but rallied. And I'll be honest, Alabama fans as a whole, I don't really hold you accountable for it. You guys aren't the crazy ones. We all know the crazy ones. There's barners and burners all over the place, bammers and burners. But look, it is what it is, but it's just from a standpoint of remembering that moment. That was one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. And yeah, easily my favorite one. So yeah, the comeback 2010.
I would say that also, as you mentioned, that punched his ticket to the Heisman Trophy as well too, which I think was the biggest one. After
made it
that,
almost near unanimous at that point.
Exactly, it was a lock at that one. So I'm gonna go with one that has a little bit less off the field drama to go with it per se. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna talk about the 2019 Iron Bowl. We're going in somewhat recent memory. 48-45, Auburn does beat Alabama. This was Mac Jones filling in after Tua got hurt a couple weeks ago. Alabama, this is the first time since the college football playoff was instituted that they missed the playoffs because of this game. They missed the field goal late in the fourth, and I don't know if anyone remembers, but Auburn on fourth down actually lined up the punter out wide and kind of screwed with Alabama. They got confused, had too many men on the field, got the first down because of that, and won the game on that. So a very strong coaching decision. A back-and-forth game, 48-45 against an Auburn defense that year that was really, really good. Everyone talks about that LSU Joe Burrow offense. They held them to 23 points, I think it was. They were the only team to hold that LSU squad from dropping 30. So it was a great defense, and Alabama still got 45 on them behind Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, we saw what they would do next year. So this was kind of the prelude of that upcoming offense. And then Auburn, just the fact that they scored 48 points, since the comeback, and that we hadn't seen that before. Maybe a touch of Trey Mason here and there will get you there, but this is the first time we saw an offense actually come to life. So we're going to go 2019 because it was a weird one. It was the first one that showed out that kind of made Alabama human with them missing the playoff. It was the Alabama Invitational up until that point. So yeah, that's the one we're going to stick with. But
they still tried, though. They still tried to give them a top 4 seed.
They did their very best. They almost pulled it off too, but they just ran a little short. But next we're going to go to the West Coast. We're going to go with one weird, not a great one, but we're going to go with the Civil War because that's quite the name. Oregon versus Oregon State. I'll go first on this one. I'm going to keep mine quick and easy. 2009, 37-33, known as the War for the Roses. Winner is going to the Rose Bowl. And this was also the early on Oregon kind of starting their, I don't want to say comeback, but it's kind of where they started to establish themselves. This was with Chip Kelly. This is when they really started to take off. We all remember the LaMichael James highlights. Everyone talks about the Tavon Austin highlights, but before that, there was the LaMichael James highlights and the 24 touchdowns, 9 yards per carry, over 2,000 yards. He was absolutely incredible during that season. So we're going to go with that one because this one's been a more lopsided rivalry, especially in recent memory. It's mostly been the Oregon show, but this was a very back and forth game with a Rose Bowl berth back when the Rose Bowl meant a little bit more. Rose Bowl on the line.
Yeah, I you know what? I like that. That's a good call out. This rivalry was hard for me, though. I'll be honest, picking my game. But there was one that stood out to me more than others. And I think maybe this was the best game, arguably second best game of the season. I think it was second best game because I think the best was Alabama, Florida. But 2009, the Battle for the Roses, the War of the Roses, they call it.
Same one.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just was incredible. I mean, Geauxs and James Rogers were outstanding. And LaMichael, he was a young kid at the time. By the way, that was LeGarrette Blount punching a guy earlier in the season, playing his first snaps in that game.
Oh, yeah, against Boise State.
Yeah. So first snaps from the Boise State punch. He plays in the Civil War. So yeah, incredible game. Easily stands out. But yeah, it's really hard finding a game in the Civil War that was like this one was different. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But that's going to move us on to the next one now. We're staying on the West Coast, heading down south. The battle for Los Angeles, UCLA versus USC. Another one that's kind of weird. It's not as lopsided, but like there are spurts. It feels like there have been spurts during this time frame where USC was the absolute juggernaut, and then there were other times where UCLA popped in. So, Kelcey, the battle for LA, which year sticks out for you?
Yeah, we're gonna go 2006. So USC looks like they're on their way to another national championship game, and looks like it's gonna be another one. They hung 66 on UCLA the year before USC did. So UCLA had something to prove. Ended up winning 13-9 in this game and knocking USC out of what was potentially another national championship game. And it was a wild situation, just a very interesting game, very low scoring, which is crazy for that USC squad. Those years of USC were not low scoring ever. I remember there was a game that was like 55-0 against Hawaii in 3 quarters. So that tells you how good USC used to be. But probably the most embarrassing loss to UCLA for USC, and there's not a lot of them out there, to be fair. But this was probably the most like egregious one. This is also post Reggie Bush's Heisman stuff, and like this was like a all right, we're still here kind of conversation for USC, and then UCLA is like, not today, and that's how it ended. It was a really interesting game to watch. I remember watching it and just being like, wow, this was cool. Just kind of, I never liked USC to begin with, so seeing UCLA beat them is always fine with me.
It was interesting because, as you mentioned, it was right after Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush had just left the NFL draft. Like they were still thought of as a juggernaut. Like they didn't feel like they were. It felt like that was we got to retool a little bit quickly, which they did. They were still good for a little while. Like the dynastic run might be over. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Pete was still there, so it still meant something.
Exactly. I'm going to go a little more recent than mine. I'm going to 2021, where UCLA won 62-33, the record for points, touchdowns, extra points. As we mentioned, USC in the last 25 years, well, they had that one where they hung 60 on them. They've had more often than not have had their number. The UCLA in this one ran roughshod all over them. This was right before Lincoln Riley came in as well. I think this was the one that broke the camel's back. It's like, all right, get him in here. We're going to give up 62. We're scoring 65. And that's what brought in him, Caleb Williams, and kind of turned the program around for a couple of years. They were in the thick of the playoff hunt until they ran to Utah in back-to-back years. And even now they're still kind of reloading, but I think that was the one where it's like, all right, we got to fix this. And the fact that you set records for the rivalry in that game, that one stands out for me.
Yeah, that one that's a big one. I'm glad you mentioned that though, because I forgot Lincoln Riley came after that game. That was like their big like rubber stamp, like, oh no, that's also post Lane Kiffin fallout for USC.
The dark ages for USC.
Also, I think that's the post Sarkisian year too. I think that's the year after Sarkisian and all that drama.
Yep, it was the dark ages for the Trojans for sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into a big one. Speaking of Lincoln Riley and Steve Sarkisian, the Red River rivalry doesn't happen during rivalry week, but it's bigger than pretty much every other rivalry week game besides the one that we'll talk about afterwards. So we're gonna include it here today. I'll go first on this one. We're going back to 2008. University of Texas, ranked number 5, beats number 1 ranked Oklahoma. Colt McCoy versus Sam Bradford. Bradford with 5 touchdowns on the day. Colt McCoy just the 1 touchdown, but controls the action like he always did at UT. This was also the year that Sam Bradford won the Heisman, and they went to the national championship against Florida. So number 5 Texas beating that top-ranked Oklahoma team, that absolute juggernaut of a Sooner squad, at least up until halftime, Tim Tebow and Major Wright decapitating a guy. So this was when the rivalry was like, oh, snap, number 5 versus number 1. So we're going to put this one in number 1 because since then it's been very rarely have they both been in the top 5. There's always one of them hovering in that vicinity. We've had them both ranked quite often, but 5 and number 1, like that's by today's standards, they're playing in the playoff probably round 2, or they're true national championship contenders.
Yeah, that was a good one. Mine is more recent though. I'm actually bucking the trend. I've been the picking the older games here. I'm gonna buck the trend. I'm gonna go recent. I'm glad you mentioned Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams though when you did USC, because
that's a good one.
2021, the Oklahoma Sooners beat Texas 55-48, but that's not the important part of this conversation. Oklahoma was down 28-7. Spencer Rattler had been the starting quarterback, threw 2 picks, had 2 turnovers in the first half, led directly to Texas scoring.
He was awful.
He gets benched. He was awful. I remember you and I watching this game and being like, this is the worst we've ever seen a quarterback play in this rivalry, I think, ever.
Especially with how hyped he was coming into the year. He was the dude. He was the number 1 overall pick coming in. Like, what?
So they bench him for Caleb Williams. This is Caleb's coming out party. Scores a 66-yard touchdown run on 4th and 1. 4th and 1. Is what? Ends up 15 for 24 for 211 yards, 2 touchdowns after replacing Spencer. But Spencer did come back in, which is the crazy part, to throw a tying 2-point conversion after Caleb Williams' 52-yard touchdown pass to Marvin Mims. So, like, this was a back and forth game. And on top of that, a shout out to Xavier Worthy, who had 9 catches for 261 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. It was an incredible, like, comeback moment. It's probably one of the most incredible comebacks, period, in this rivalry, except for maybe the 2020 game, which was just as crazy, which was Spencer on the other side of the coin. But yeah, and then Jonathan Brooks was a big thing in that game. And yeah, it was I don't know, back and forth with like guys we see in the league today. So that one stood out to me as like one of my favorite to watch just because of how bad. I mean, it was awful watching Spencer Rattler at that. I honestly didn't think he would do well after that moment for the rest of his career. I thought he was scrapped. He came back once he got to South Carolina, did fine. But Caleb obviously set his pace. That's what he was going to do from now on. Caleb was going to be that guy, it seemed, and led him to a number 1 pick. So, yeah, it's an incredible run, though, for sure. Definitely got Lincoln Riley the job in USC the next year.
Won a Heisman as well. Let's not to mention Bijan Robinson. Like, that was a star-studded matchup as well, too. Like, across the board, like there was some firepower.
Sam Ellinger. So
Sam Ellinger, like there was some heat in that game for sure. Xavier Worthy, the true freshman, was doing that as well. Like not the Xavier Worthy we know today. That was babyface Xavier Worthy, but. It's time. We'll talk about the big one now. The game, still kind of the most boring nickname out of all of them, but we're going to go to the game. Ohio State versus Michigan. Kelcey, I'm going to let you lead the way on this one as well, too, as somebody who lives very, very close to where this game takes place. Actually, almost right between it, give or take. So, Kelcey, What do we have for the game, also known as Ohio State, Michigan? I hate that it's called the game.
Yeah, it's the game of the century is my pick. 2006, the first all-time beating number 1, number 2. Both teams undefeated. Yeah, look, this is the one that I'm okay with calling the game of the century. The next 3 renditions of game of the century in the game, stupid. By the way, it is the game, not the. Let's be very clear about this. Ohio State fans, I'm looking directly at you. By the way, Chad Henne was a quarterback in this game, and I think that's hilarious that he's in one of the best games all time for Michigan. But it also came after Bo Schembechler passed away due to heart disease, literally like the day after, which was just a wild moment. But yeah, it's one that you just look at as this was the game for the BCS National Championship. The winner of this wins the National Championship, and Troy Smith and squad went on to play really well. So, yeah, Ohio State in this one obviously took the win, but game of the century is my all-time the game.
Yeah, no surprise. That's the same one for me. It's actually the idea that inspired this entire topic is thinking about this game while watching this last week's Ohio State Michigan game. You mentioned 42-39, 1 versus 2. Winners going to the national championship game against Florida. Ohio State had been one of the best offenses in the country. Michigan had been one of the best defensive teams. To look back, you had like Lamar Woodley and guys like that on that defense. Offensively, Michael Hart was cooking at running back. Antonio Pittman at running back for Buckeyes. And for Troy Smith, this was his Heisman game too. He was leading the pack at that point. Like it was, will he get it? Will he not? But 4 touchdowns, including, I still remember it's engraved in like they come out in the jumbo package. The play action, he hides the ball behind the back, kind of like they teach you, really sells the play action, rips that, I think is like a 50-yard bomb to Ted Ginn Jr., the most explosive player in college football at the time too. And that was, I think I'm trying to think of how long that was, but it was basically more or less, that was the true rendition of the game. Like that was the most the game that was the game of the century. That was properly titled. I don't think we've seen anything really since that point that kind of matches that I could think of in a true rivalry week sense. Like you'll see it maybe throughout the year, maybe 1 versus 2, like LSU, Florida, here or there, Alabama, LSU, at Georgia, whatever it might be. But in the truest of true rivalry weeks, the BCS on the line in this particular case, or in what I guess would be now the number 1 seed in the college football playoff on the line, 1 versus 2. It'd be like trying to even think, like imagine if A&M had run through and Texas had done what they were supposed to. Maybe that could have been it. Like, but nothing's really come close to that as far as a rivalry week game sense.
Yeah, not in those in the game matchup. There's been a couple 1 and 2s or 2 and 3s that were really good. But yeah, I think that was just the one that set the stage. By the way, fun fact about the entire Troy Smith thing. You know, he played with a kicker's face mask and a eye shield to cover up the space. Like, one of the only quarterbacks I've ever seen play with such a low face mask. It's because he didn't like the stuff blocking his vision, which I thought was hilarious. And you mentioned Ted Ginn being the most explosive player. Their only loss that season came against Florida, who had the most explosive player in Percy Harvin.
And not to mention, too, he took the opening kickoff of that game to the house for a touchdown for Ted Ginn Jr., the same year that Devin Hester did the same in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And by the way, a receiver on that particular Ohio State team, Brian Harline, now soon to be University of Southern Florida coach as well, after being the offense coordinator and best receiving coach ever, arguably.
He's the reason why there are 3 receivers still unsigned with Ohio State right now, is because he's leaving that.
Exactly. So the game of all games for sure when it comes to rivalry week. I'm hoping we get one of these soon, whether it's here or maybe Georgia Tech somehow ends up like that. Wouldn't that be something? Or Alabama?
Good old fashioned hate. Good clean old fashioned hate is one of the most underrated rivalries out there. Fun fact for you for Georgia Tech, and this is the only time that a Georgia Tech student is allowed to cuss to the chancellor of the school is to say, "To hell with Georgia,"
as they should be. That's
the only reason they're allowed to cuss at the chancellor of the school.
Understandable, and I support that as well. But that's what we have for our rivalry week flashbacks for the last 25 years. But one thing a lot of these had in common: Heisman Trophy implications, which means we're now going to head into the Heisman hierarchy of the show, where Kelcey gives us top 3. And it's been a few weeks. We'll see if maybe there's a little bit of a shakeup.
Yeah, there's definitely been a shakeup, and we'll start at number 3 with the new guy on the list, who I've given an honorable mention a couple times, Diego Pavia at number 3. And the reason why, obviously, he's the next closest after the top 2. There is only really a top 2 in this race this year. The next third, and this has nothing to do with Diego Pavia's ability or his talent this year. He's played an incredible season. 10-2. They should probably be in the playoff, but that's a conversation we'll have after they release the final playoff rankings. And Diego Pavia should be in New York. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind about that. Biggest reason it's not anybody else. It's not going to be Jeremiah Smith, because injury / also losing out to number 2 on my list. And then it's not going to be Jeremiah Love, who just didn't do enough for me to get Notre Dame to that point. Number 2, you can see Julian Sand still there. He is literally equal odds to my number 1 in Fernando Mendoza, and these two play each other this week. So we will have our Heisman moment, as it should be, in a championship game. And I hope for all hope that this is a great offensive game and there's not a argument about how bad the offenses are, or he performed less bad, and I want this to be an exceptional offensive game between these two, because I want to see 2 Heisman Trophy winners actually battle it out on the field, like we should have seen many times before. You talked USC earlier. They did that against Oklahoma, and obviously it didn't work out very well for Oklahoma the year that they matched up 2 Heisman Trophy candidates. And then here in Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sayin, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I hate to say it to Diego Pavia, Marcel Reed, Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith, but like, you guys, it's not your fault in a lot of ways. It's just the top 2 have just been incredible all season. So Julian Sayin has something like an 82% completion rate this year, which is wow. that's never going to be done before. And Mendoza has set records for Indiana time and time again, game records, season records, career records. So these are my top 3. Realistically, it's a top 2, but I didn't break the rules this time. And I made it all 3 because I break the rules every other time. And I figured this is the one I'll keep the rules together for.
It's going to happen now that you say that. Is Indiana's going to get cooked, but Julian Sainz going to only complete like 9 of 30 passes. Can be Bo Jackson, the running backs that cook all the way. So the top 2 is like, well, now who do we give it to? When they combine for like 130 yards and 4 picks or something egregious. So it's like, well, all right, maybe it is Diego Pavia after all. Maybe we got to figure out what to do with it now, or they just pull a name out of a hat.
I hope above all hopes that there's no terrible voters like there always is, and they don't do something stupid like send in their vote before the game or at halftime of the game. Send your vote in the moment the whistle blows at the end of the game. That's fine, but don't do it before that. All you voters that like to, well, I voted early. No. That's like, these 2 have been so good all season long. you have to give them the benefit of the doubt for the entire game. Like, give them the chance to make a comeback. Give them a chance to make that Heisman moment happen. So that's my only 2 cents for any voters that listen to me. They're never going to listen to me, but I'm going to ask them to at least.
Look, the Heisman Trophy ceremony is in January. You can wait till Sunday to send your damn vote in. Don't even send it the day of. Just wait till Sunday. Let everything play out, then send it. Like, don't be that guy. No one likes that guy. No one thinks you're cute because you sent it in early. You're not cool. It's not like showing up to school with an extra bag of Gushers and then say it's just trying to figure out who gets it. Like, you're not cool for it, so don't do it. But anyway, we've ranted enough today. So that's going to wrap up the main event. That's now take us into Kelcey's favorite part of every show. That is crunch time. And for crunch time, we're going to hit the pitch a little bit too. As Kelcey, you're going to tell us a little bit about football as opposed to football.
Yeah, we all know the World Cup is coming to the United States. It is 7 months away, which is crazy. USA, Mexico, Canada, for those that have been under a rock and hidden forever, they are hosting the World Cup, and 18 of the first 26 games are being held in the United States, with the other remaining 8 split between Canada and Mexico. Yeah, all the teams are finalized, and this Friday, we have the moment we've all been waiting for, the release, or the drawing, really. They put all the teams in a pot, or a bunch of pots. It's a really confusing situation. Honestly, I could probably make a whole video on it, and you'll still be confused, and I'll do my best to break it down as simple as possible, but it is a complicated seeding process, which is stupid. The USA, Mexico, and Canada all have their own specific groups already that they are team 1 in. And from there, all the other teams go into pots and they get pulled based on their affiliation with countries. And we'll get our final group stage matchups on Friday, which I can't wait for. Been excited for this one. I've actually keep looking at the calendar because I've been waiting on this one. Like, oh, is it December yet? All right, not yet. Put it back down. Is it December yet? Yeah. All right. So I'm ready to see what happens. I'm ready to get my fan on, if you will, because I guarantee I'll be at one game at some point in time next year. I will find my way to go. Maybe it's just going to be tailgating because those ticket prices were stupid. But yeah, I will find my way into one of these stadiums, or at least to the tailgating of one of these stadiums, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment to go to a World Cup. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment to have the World Cup on home soil. So it's happened twice in my lifetime. I was too young. One, I didn't even know anything about soccer the first time. This time I know soccer. I love it. I'm excited for it. USA finally looks decent. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, World Cup draw Friday. Cannot wait. And you better believe there will be a video on some point in time about it.
And there will be Kelcey reporting live from that on-site, whenever it might be too. So keep an eye out for that. But it's exciting. The World Cup's the biggest sporting event in the world when it happens every 4 years. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait for it as well. Keeping my eyes open, see if there's going to be any along my way that I can find myself to. That's for sure. And I'll be able to use our code SeatGeek potentially to save myself a couple dollars on the way. But if you haven't already checked that out too, go and run over to the Belly Up Sports YouTube page. Check out our interview with Jay Paterno from last week. Talked about college football, the NIL, what it was like as his life as a coach. We talked a lot about food too. So there's a lot you want to learn in that one. Go check that one out on the Belly Up Sports YouTube page. We appreciate y'all so much for hanging out this week, and we'll see you all again next time.